Panasonic, the heart of your system.
I'm Leo for Kit Guru. Today I'm reviewing this G.Skill Sniper X DDR4 memory, which is compatible with both Intel and AMD Ryzen. It has, as you can see, a camouflaged heat spreader, which is why I am camouflaged, and because it's called Sniper X, I've also got my gun. Blast! This outfit's ruffled my hair. That'll never do. Up to this point, if you're using AMD AM4, you'd typically choose Flare X from G.Skill because it's compatible with Ryzen. When the second gen Ryzen 7 came out, along came Sniper X at 3400 MHz, you see, compatible with Ryzen. As a point of information, the memory in the board here is 3400 MHz Sniper X, this is 3600. The difference is the 3400 has the compatible with Ryzen sticker on it, the 3600 does not. In recent times I've reviewed RGB memory from both Patriot and HyperX. This Sniper X has no RGB, it has no control software. Basically what I'm holding in my hand is what you get, that's all there is to it. So yeah, we can have a conversation about the aesthetics of the heat sinks, but performance, that plays its part obviously. Let me just start the AIDA64 memory benchmark running, like so. Now, the Flare X that we were pretty much forced to use with first gen Ryzen from G.Skill is 3200 MHz memory. I say forced not because G.Skill made us do it, but because Ryzen 7 originally was so hard with memory. It was really finicky, and getting it to run correctly was difficult. Flare X at 3200 MHz, so XMP, has timings of 14, 14, 14, 34. Very respectable. This Sniper X here, and I've got 3600 in front of me, but the 3400 Sniper is 16, 16, 16, 36 timings at XMP. 200 megahertz up, and yet the timings look worse. And yet these figures prove the opposite. Now, as it happens, this 3600 Sniper is 1919, 1939, so another step in the wrong direction. You often get that. The question is, do the worst timings offset the improved speed or not? On paper, the Sniper X 3400 actually looks like a fairly poor move, but these figures prove in a pure synthetic memory test, actually going from the 3200 Flare X up to 3400 Sniper X on a Ryzen 7 platform, that's a win. To give you the full rundown of our test system, we have an Asus ROG Crosshair 7 Hero Wi-Fi motherboard, the Ryzen 7 2700X CPU, that's running at stock clocks, but frankly with the XFR dynamic overclocking, it runs pretty much to its maximum speed out of the box without any manual overclocking. The G.Skill Sniper X DDR4 3400 memory, that's at XMP, so it is running at 3400 rather than the default speed. Graphics card is a reference GTX 980. Because we're testing memory rather than graphics, so that's not particularly relevant. And then we have a Seasonic Prime Titanium Platinum 1000 watt power supply. The liquid cooler is a Fractal Design Celsius S24, which is a 240mm Ace Tech. It's a relatively conventional design as Ace Techs go, and it gives you therefore a reference point for the height of the memory against the pump body. Showing the performance of the Sniper X in a synthetic test such as AIDA64 memory benchmark, not difficult to do. You get some good numbers and you go, oh well, clearly it's better than that there Flare X, job done. Showing other benchmarks is really tricky because the only other area we've found that fast memory really helps, well, there are two areas. The first is response, which is entirely personal. Is your PC currently a bit laggy and nasty? Like when you go from a hard drive to an SSD and it's just wow, you know, instant. Faster memory is better up to a certain point, but it depends on the rest of your system and are you happy at the moment or not. There are times when you're doing things like Adobe Premiere, faster memory, and you go, oh, that helped. In this instance, I didn't personally note that in the various bits and pieces I was using the system for, that the 3400 was any notably faster than 3200 memory. I wasn't surprised by that, it's just worth reporting. Where you can sometimes spot a difference is in gaming, where the minimum frame rate gets lifted a tad by a faster memory. It depends on the game, it depends if the frame rate has been handicapped in some way, but you do sometimes see some benefits. I did a couple of games tests, I didn't particularly note that this memory particularly helped. So if you're suffering in certain games, you might find a benefit, but it's one of those, you can't really plan for it. It's something when you come across it, you go, hurrah, that's a bonus, and that's about as good as it gets. So the aesthetics, and this is where it gets a bit peculiar. So it's camouflage memory. I happen to like the look of the urban camouflage, but you put it on this basically black motherboard with a bit of silver stuff going on, the metal reinforcements on the graphic slots and such like, and it's not actually camouflage because it's sort of camouflagey stuff on black, pretty much black. So it's a styling thing. On the other hand, if I take this G.Skill Flare X and I put that there, that is pretty much camouflaged. It just kind of vanishes, even though it's got this leery sort of heat spreader thing going on, those sort of angly, cutouty sort of thing. I mean, it looks like I'm going to hate myself for saying this, it looks like a Klingon batlath. But still, the point is it looks like some sort of weapon. And yet, despite that, it fits in and vanishes more easily in this motherboard than does the camouflage memory. So the camouflage isn't camouflage, it's a styling thing. I like it, but it doesn't really work as camouflage. And then we get the mechanical installation of memory. So if I take this Sniper X here, which is obviously the same physical size as that Sniper X, and I compare it to the Flare X, and I put them side by side, and if anything, the Sniper X is slightly taller. It's a few mil taller. So even though the heatsink's not doing anything in a sort of a lights RGB kind of way, it's a bit taller than the Flare X. So in that sense, a slight lose. If I take some Corsair Vengeance LPX, which is the king of low profile memory, it's a DIMM and it's got this heat spreader which kind of is folded around and just grips in place. It is very low profile. And Flare X like so, obviously taller, Sniper X even taller. So if you're really tight for space, LPX is your friend and Sniper X in that context not. But here's the thing, if I take this Trident Z, or Trident Z if you must, RGB memory, which looks relatively tall and chunky, and I compare it with the Sniper X, they are very close. Now, the sort of the fin on the top of the Trident Z is slightly taller, but we are talking slightly taller. So that Trident Z has the whole RGB thing going on, and it really is good RGB. This Sniper X does not. It is, if you're being cruel, dumb memory, and yet it's quite tall. It's not as tall, we've seen in the past a HyperX T1, I think. I mean, really tall heatsinks, nothing like that. But nonetheless, the heatsink is not active, and yet it's taking up a lot of space. So you have to really love that camouflage pattern to want to kind of, you know, go down that route, I'd say. In fact, it's also quite expensive. So the Flare X I found on sale in the UK for £215. You obviously need to be very careful when you're pricing memory that it's exactly the same kit, the same speed, same clock speed, same latency, same capacity, same configuration, in this case 2 by 8 gigabytes. But the Flare X is 215. Other memories we tested recently, HyperX was 199, Patriot, which is actually rather fast, was 235. This G.Skill Sniper X, it's expensive. I found it on sale at £260. I was surprised by that. If I had to pick a number, I'd have said, say, 230 would have been about right. 260 is like a bit ouchy. You're paying £45 more than the Flare X for the Sniper X 3400. I'm saying that because I'm waving around 3600, not that you can tell that. This is 215, that is 260. And that's a heck of a step up for a little bit more speed and a synthetic benchmark. And in the great scheme of things, you don't actually notice the snap and the extra response. Now, aesthetically, well, which you prefer, that's entirely up to you. The question is, would you pay £45 more for that over that for the aesthetic? Personal matter. Personally, I'm not sure I would. I mean, I'm not mad keen on this whole cutouty kind of thing going on here. I do quite like that. How much would I pay for the privilege? Different question. The one thing you can say about the Sniper X, on the other hand, is that it is compatible with both AMD and Intel. It is multi-purpose memory because Trident Z, for example, I'd be perfectly happy using that in an Intel system. AMD system, I definitely want to try it to make sure it behaved. My experience is it might or it might not, whereas the Sniper X, on the other hand, seems to be bulletproof on both platforms. So that is its major strength, the fact it is compatible with Ryzen and obviously with Intel, because everything's compatible with Intel. So there, the question of how much you're prepared to pay for memory that will work on just anything at 3400 megahertz. And I'm going to say, just to be on the safe side, obviously check memory compatibility with your motherboard, because, you know, when I say everything, it probably isn't everything, but effectively everything. The question is how much you're prepared to pay for memory that is just going to work at a decent speed. Now, unfortunately, memory is a lot of money. So 215 for the Flare X is a lot, 260 is an extra lot. Painful. It's effective, the camouflage is fun, it's a little bit too tall for my taste, but it does work pretty much guaranteed. That's good, but you're paying for the privilege. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you want more from Kit Guru, click to subscribe. I'm Leo Woodard for Kit Guru. This is G.Skill Sniper X DDR4 3400 megahertz. I'm Leo Woodard for Kit Guru. Today I'm reviewing this G.Skill Sniper X DDR4 memory, which is compatible with both Intel and AMD Ryzen. It has, as you can see, a camouflaged heat spreader, which is why I am camouflaged, and because it's called Sniper X, I've also got my gun. Blast! This outfit's ruffled my hair.